It's going to be a long but fun day today. After the semester ends, a lot of students don't know what their professors get up to, and the break is almost over. We're T-minus 1 week until the start of semester 2 in 2022. So this is it, a day in the life, the week before semester starts. You can only really start preparing for the next semester once the last semester is finished and hopefully all of the exam marking is finished and you're ready to move on. And what do we have to worry about after the semester is finished? As academics, we have to talk to other people about our work at conferences. So that involves writing conference talks and planning travel and going on these trips. And I'm right now here in Sydney about to give a panel discussion later this afternoon. And of course, giving conference talks is not a trivial exercise. I've made a lot of videos on this channel about how to prepare for both online and in-person conferences, as well as networking. There's a lot of thought and care that has to go into building our career through these conferences that we get to attend in person or online. Now, it's not as easy as just going to a conference without having doing any work beforehand. During the semester, when we're teaching you, we're doing research all along the way. That includes doing experiments, analyzing data, and writing that data up into a form that we can submit for a conference or submit as a research paper. The first thing to plan when it comes to a teaching semester is what type of learning activities you're going to deliver. Is it just going to be lectures? Are there going to be tutorials or workshops or lab practicals? Only once you've decided the learning activities can you then lock in the next planning phase, which is timetabling. Now, the good and bad thing with timetabling is that it's almost entirely out of the teacher's control. It's dependent on the class size, what rooms are available, what time is available, what's happening to the campus, is it flooded, are there repairs going on? What you can control is what type of learning activities you'll deliver, just not necessarily when and where. The next decision is arguably the most important. Are you going to have an exam, final exam, mid-semester exam, and how much is it going to be worth? This might throw a lot of students off because exam taking fills many students with anxiety. So then you have to decide how much do you make it worth? Do you make it worth 70%, 80% of the course? Or do you make it worth 40, 50%? And after that, you have to fill out the rest of your course up to 100% with other kinds of assessment tasks. So in the best courses, assessment and learning activities go hand in hand, and there's a learning pedagogy underlying some of this design called constructive alignment. We've talked about this on the channel before, where every learning activity is explicitly tied to an assessment item so that the learner cannot escape without doing the learning activities, doing the assessment, and then learning what they're supposed to learn. But of course, assessment also ties into timetabling because due dates of assessment is really tricky to manage. You don't want it to fall close to a holiday, you don't want it during the mid-semester break, close to the exam revision period, and hopefully your learning activities are giving students enough time to learn the skills before the assessment is actually due. Once you've made all these plans, it's time to make backups of your backup plans. Students will have all of these different alternative arrangements due to very valid physical or mental disabilities or extenuating circumstances or illness, and you need to have the right forms and alternate assessment designs in place so that when a student comes to request something, you're not caught unawares. You got backups for your backup plans in every assessment item, every learning activity that you designed. So I made it to the venue, and even though I'm just about to go into ready to give my conference talk, it doesn't mean that I'm not still managing all of this organization behind the scenes, because all the systems we use to manage timetabling, assessment, and deadlines is now online. It's both a gift and a curse, but after the conference ends for today, I'm going to go back and do some more organization. So now that all the organizational stuff is technically over with, it's time to write your lectures. If you're new to lecturing, then this might be completely from scratch, but odds are you're inheriting someone else's lecture notes so that you can work on it step by step, not from zero. Now, I've been doing this for 10 years, so I'm not really working off other people's lecture notes anymore. But often I'm editing my own lecture notes and I need to remind myself, going back to last year's lectures, what worked well in terms of timing, what worked well in terms of student engagement, what worked well in terms of concepts that students understood without being too difficult to wrap their heads around. And I think a general rule of thumb is 30 slides is the maximum number of slides to go through in a 60-minute or 1-hour lecture. So you can use that as a guiding principle if you're first starting out. Now, it's not just about writing the lecture slides. As you're putting it together, you need to be thinking about exam questions and assessment that are aligned to the learning objectives you propose right from the start of the lecture. And that has a very nice learning design theory behind it. It's constructively aligned, and both your students will appreciate this as well as any coordinators who have to set exam questions. Timetabling, assessment, and learning activities and lectures, that used to be the end of it and everything is planned. But now we have to assume that most students will not be physically coming to class and that online learning is how they interact with everything in the course. So teachers have to be able to establish a completely independent, self-directed online learning environment, not just making videos, but also interactive quizzes, animations, and assessment submission portals. Don't feel a rush to get all of it done or figured out in one single semester. Pick one thing to master, so that 1 year maybe it's just converting your lecture slides to be a higher quality with better animations. Pick a different lane to gradually improve every single semester, and over time you'll build up an incredible arsenal, a toolkit for online learning that the students will appreciate. Now keep in mind, all of this is happening against the backdrop of me being at a conference away from my desk, but I'm still responding to all these queries, to requests for committee meetings and enrollment numbers, the networking and the conference event, the panel talk I gave today. That is what energizes me to go and take care of this organization behind the scenes after the day is finished. That's the day in the life of a professor or an academic who is a teacher, and it's all very doable if you stay on top of things. That is a very small price to pay for the privilege to stand up in front of a new class of students every semester, just to connect with them, share their knowledge, challenge their assumptions and understanding just one more time.